Alright, what's up guys? It's Necro. I'm going to be going through some of these balance proposal changes from the balance update from August 6th, 2020. I'm just going to be giving my general thoughts about it. I'm pretty much just going to skip all this fluffiness as well. I'm just going to try and figure out my own context here as like what they're trying to do. And I might even throw in some of my ideas too. So let's just jump right into it. We've got the Zerg here with the Baneling. Weapon damage changed from 18 plus 17 versus light to 15 plus 20 versus light. So what they're trying to do here is that they're just trying to make the Baneling less good versus Immortals and Archons. And yeah, this is pretty much what they say in the text as well. So this is weird because the strength of the Baneling, the Baneling's goal is not to blow up the Archons or the Immortals. That's completely irrelevant. The goal of the Baneling is to clear the Zealots, which for one are light units. This does not change the damage. And two, it's to get to the High Templar, which are also light units. Like the goal that you're not making Banelings against like Archons and Immortals, right? You're trying to make Banelings against the Zealots inside the Archon Immortals and to get them to the High Templar, because those are the juice units you want to get. So just making them like less good against unit they're not supposed to be good against, I mean, like, does make much sense. And like, and I don't even know what their goal is with this too, because like, are you just trying to, like, is the purpose of this to force the Zerg to have to make even more Banelings? Or is this to discourage the Zerg of making Banelings and going something else? It seems to be the first one though, where it's like, well, now it's less good versus Archons and Immortals. So you're gonna have to make even more of them, which I don't understand how that can be an answer. And if it was the other answer, which would be you're trying to skew Zerg into a different direction to deal with Archon Immortals in that composition, well, you're not doing a very good job, because you would have been able to buff other maybe mid-game units like the Hydra or the Lurker or the Swarm Host or whatever. But instead you're just nerfing this tier 1 unit, and you're not telling us it's like, well, I'm nerfing this, but I'm buffing this, so, you know, try this alternative. It's like, no, we're nerfing this, so make more of those. Not too that's a weird goal to me. This doesn't affect anything other, pretty much. Like, you're not really going to use Banelings versus tanks and mech anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And everything else, every other function is basically the same. With +2, they still one-shot probes and everything. Okay. Oh yeah, one of the things I would like to have, like, if we were to, like, rework the Baneling. Oh shit, green screen. If we were to, like, rework the Baneling, there's a couple things I would love to see. This would make every matchup so much more interesting, in my opinion. But, like, instead of the Baneling, and BCQD talked about this too, instead of having the Baneling just blow up and it's all equal full splash damage, you have it like the tank, where it's actually he talked about that with the Disruptor. Every AoE should be this way too. At the center of the explosion should be the most damage, and then you have a second layer where it's half the damage, and a fourth layer where it's a fourth of the damage, right? I mean, a third layer with the fourth of the damage. This would make it so interesting. And what I would do as well is I would reduce a lot of their damage. Yeah, I would just reduce a lot of their damage. So instead of it being a unit that when you touch it, it just kind of blows up. Like, if Banelings touch Marines, it'll just blow up. If they touch Zerg, it'll just blow up. If they touch Zealots, well, a lot less. But, like, it's way more interesting when, like, it takes, like, 2 or 3 Banelings. First one kind of gets them in the orange. Second one in the red. Third one kind of kills them. Fourth one, whatever. You make the Banelings cheaper, too. You make them faster, just like Zerglings. But you make the whole entire splash damage a lot weaker. That way, it's like, as soon as they touch something, it doesn't immediately all blow it up, right? It just kind of does kind of an AoE thing. I feel like that would make a lot more fights a lot more interesting, and it would make ZVZ so much cooler as well, because they wouldn't just one-shot Zerglings, but they would still do a massive amount of damage. And same thing versus everything, right? Especially when you're on creep and you're just throwing shit. Like, of course the Banelings will connect, but the question is, like, if they connect, will they instantly blow up whatever they're supposed to blow up? Or is it going to be, like, kind of more splashy kind of a spell? You know, maybe you can even reduce them to just 25 gas, depending on how weak you make them. But I feel like a redesign like that could be really, really cool. I think every splash damage, just like a Disruptor Ball, should be strong center, weaker, and then weaker again. I think if all splash damage is like that, it would be so much more interesting. It's also what makes TVT Marine Tank against Marine Tank so kind of cool as well, because you've got certain parts, you know, kind of being more damaged over time during the fight. Protoss Oracle. So Revelation duration increased from 15 to 20 seconds. Okay, our aims change. Continue to attack armies in the mid game. Yeah. So this is the cleanest solution. So Revelation ability is a little bit boring in my opinion. Just because it's like there's not really, there is counterplay in the sense like it depends on the range. 15 seconds is very low. They're trying to reduce it to have say 15 seconds plus also lower cost mana, and then now they're just buffing it to 20 seconds. But what I would love, especially from an Oracle ability, this music is loud, especially from an Oracle ability, and I really like all abilities that are like this, is to have an energy drain on it. So the Oracle Pulsar Beam is, you know, you activate at 25, and then it's 2 energy per second. What would be cool here and quite a lot more strategic and have a lot more thought into it is if you just tag units that cost 25, and then each second that it's revealed, it costs like 2 or 3 energy, something like that. Pretty much the same concept, and it's up to the Protoss to figure out when to turn it off, or if the Oracle kind of runs out of energy, then it, you know, turns off as well. Now there's going to be a lot of details to refine, especially in terms of the radius of the tag. I think that's probably going to have to be reduced quite a bit, because I think you just make like a lot of oracles. But yeah, having an energy draining Revelation could be very interesting, and you'd have to be very strategic between that Pulsar Beam and whatever. I think just energy draining abilities are very interesting, and then creates for a little bit more of strategic options. Like you tag something, then you have to figure out when you want to turn it off. Yeah, for sure. In that case, too, though, I thought of this idea maybe. It's an upgrade for the shield battery. So, like, you know how, like, you have the consumability for Zerg, right, on the Viper? It'd be cool if you can have an upgrade on the shield battery where it regenerates shields but also regenerates energy. So you can kind of play with that a little bit, you know? Maybe the energy revelation is maybe even 4 mana per second. That would be a lot. So maybe late game can still use it, but you need to have like full energy oracles all the time, because it's going to drain so much energy just revealing it all the time, you know? That's just an idea. I think it's an interesting idea. I don't think it's super balanced necessarily, or there's a lot of tweaking that has to be done, but I think that's way cooler than just tagging for a certain amount of time. Void Ray. Cost reduced from 250 to 150 to 200 to 150. Void Ray's build time decreased from 43 to 47 seconds. Movement speed increased from 3.5 to 3.85. So what I'm kind of seeing here is also there's going to be a Flex Vane upgrades, right? Yeah, Flex Vane movement speed increased from 4.75 to 5.11. This, actually I'm just going to start with this. This seems kind of useless. The only thing I can see this happening is if you're trying to make it like a battlecruiser thing, where it's a group of Void Rays that goes to attack. Instead of having the classic Warp Prism harass, you can have kind of like the thing where you got speedy Void Rays just going around the map sniping stuff. I don't know if they have the correct health amount to do that. I don't know if they definitely have the damage. I don't know if they have the range. I don't know if they have the health to do that, because you just put a couple turrets, and I mean, like, it doesn't matter how fast they are. They're not tankier, you know, in any way. And this is still slower than Phoenix, so you can't even like move around Phoenix Void Ray together anymore. What you can do though is pick off Banshees. Yeah, you can pick off Vikings very easily as well. Probably Corruptors as well. Boosted Medevac is still faster than this. But yeah, let's just go to here. So this seems to me like, first of all, they're not even nerfing any stats. They're just making this easier to get, which is a little bit scary, because this is going to be used to defend anything. If a Terran just sends you like Cyclones, it's fine. You can catch it. You can catch it. Is way less expensive. You can pull it back. You can make more of it. If they send you kind of a tank, 1/1/1 Banshees, these things can catch up to it very easily. In PvP, this is going to be an all answer to everything early game as well. Like, you're going for Stalkers, you can just go Shield Battery, Stalker, Void Ray. If he's going for Proxy Immortal, you can just probably make Void Rays as well. If you're making, like, Proxy 3-gate, you can just Shield Battery Void Ray at any time, and I feel like you can get out so much more. Like, 200 and 150, it's, like, so much less minerals than you would normally, right? So, yeah, I feel like this is quite strong defensively. And, of course, versus Zerg, any Zerg all in, to be honest, you can literally just do like a roach attack, and you can get these bad boys in no time. Like, this is the safest defense versus anything Zerg can throw at you. Obviously, if you just go Oracle into Void Ray, I feel like that's just gonna be the most like, already the fact that PvZ is so Stargate focused, like, you're always gonna go for Stargate. It's one of the most best things. You get Revelation, you get so much utility out of the Oracle. And second unit, just get the Void Ray, and the Void Ray will literally deal with any Nidus, any Roach attack, really, any Overlords around the map. Like, this unit is gonna be so easy to get out early game that it's just going to deal with anything Zerg throws at him. So it's just going to encourage, first of all, it's going to encourage even more Stargate play than it already is. And it's also going to just dissuade Zerg from doing anything. Because if the opponent just gets out one Void Ray, you have nothing that shoots air before lair attack. Like Protoss and Terran, we've got anti-air at tier 1. Zerg does not have that aside from Queen. So, like, why would I attempt anything when you can get a Void Ray so fast? First of all, you know, here it says 5 seconds, but obviously when you can stack 5 seconds, it's going to go a lot faster for sure. And like yeah, it's just, you just always going to have a Void Ray. Like, Zerg's not going to be able to do anything early game. Anything you throw at them, it's like, Oracle into Void Ray. Got it. I fixed everything. I fixed all the problems, guys. I feel like this is a bad change for PvZ. Yeah, PvP might make it more interesting because Void Ray is going to be more viable, especially early game defense. I think that's fine. Versus Terran as well, probably. Could be cool. I feel like PvZ, this is the worst change for PvZ in my opinion. This is just gonna, this is gonna make the matchup even more stale. So I'm not a fan of that. This is useless. It's fine, but it's useless. So it's gonna go from what, 3.85 to 511. I mean, if you're gonna make it faster, make it as fast as the Phoenix. Or have an upgrade for like more life, or like stronger against buildings. Like, an interesting upgrades here would be like, does extra versus buildings, which we're gonna get to actually with the next unit here. Carriers. Interceptors belong to carriers. Neuroparasite would no longer draw aggression from units belonging to the carrier's original owner. This is kind of annoying, because this is kind of a middle finger to everyone else has to micro and target fire carriers. Now it's like, if you target fire the carrier, oh no, all my units are targeting the interceptors, what do? It's like, well, dude, fucking every race that plays against the carriers has to focus fire the carriers. So if you take a thing of your carriers, you gotta focus fire your own carriers or whatnot, right? Obviously, the thing is that, like, it doesn't, you don't want to kill your own carriers, obviously. But if you're gonna, it's still the equivalent if you're trying to kill the infestor, right? The infestor is basically the carrier. So if there's interceptors everywhere, well, shit, I gotta target fire the pseudo carriers, which is the infestors. So I think it's absolutely fine that you need to target fire like those. What you can do though is make it maybe a little bit easier. So I'd say probably since, you know, Neuroparasite is already well burrowed, I probably think reduce the Neuroparasite range by 1. And then just, you have to target fire the infestors. This is part of the game. This is the entire part of the carrier kind of a thing. Yeah. I don't know. This upgrade is kind of I don't like it too much. I'd rather see a slight nerf on the way to deal with Neuroparasite than the fact that it's like, well, now Neuroparasite, when you target fire carriers, all of a sudden it's like, well, I mean, I have to micro resist carriers, but not you though. I mean, I don't know. This is not the greatest change in my opinion. I would just much rather see a change to Neuroparasite than a change to aggro here on what is supposed to be the actual UI, not the actual AI of the interceptor. Tempest, new upgrade. Fleet Beacon, Tectonic Destabilizers, improves Tempest Resonance Coil, which is the attack name, to deal plus 40 versus structures, cost 150, research time 100 seconds. So this is cool because the goal here is basically you have to take care of all those Spore Caller forests, which is pretty much what is written here, forests even. But like, the thing is, There's so many spores. I don't know how fast it's going to clear them, but I like the idea that you're giving Zerg a little bit less time to actually deal with this. In terms of versus Terran, there is it's not gonna do much because you don't really have that many turrets to take care of. I feel like what could be cool here is I'd like to see something along the lines of an upgrade that does plus versus structures. I do like the concept. I think it's very, very cool because a lot of the time sieging something means sieging the buildings in front of it. Like siege tanks take out turrets very fast, and that's how, even though some TVTs are quite stale, you can use the siege tank to start breaking, you know, the turret lines. So obviously spore calls as well. This doesn't happen late game though. So what I would like to see kind of here, which would be would improve more matchups too, is that you have a plus 20 damage versus structures, and then another upgrade that increases the attack speed, because the Tempest has such little. First of all, it sucks for its price. Let's be real. Like for the function that it does, it sucks for the price. It's the prices of a Colossus. Like the only thing that a Tempest is good against is kind of battle cruisers. Not really Thors, and it's kind of good versus Broodlords, I guess, right? Anything massive in the air. The rest is kind of shit. Like, it attacks so slow, like 4 Marines could beat it, technically. Also, it does, like, even if when you're trying to get out Tempest, like, sometimes it's also against Liberators, right? It's one of the other functions, one of the other very rare functions. And you're just clear, like, he's getting out 4 Liberators at a time, basically. And you're just, like, it takes you, like, 4, 5, 6 Tempests to just start gunning them down. And then it's like, okay, well, 1 is gone. And then the refresh rate is so long that, like, it doesn't force anything. Like, I feel like it doesn't clear... Like clearing spore callers takes too much time, but I feel like clearing masses of liberators on top of like the missile turrets could be very long as well. I feel like that process could be a little bit shorter as well. I would actually buff the simply put the attack speed. That way you're not buffing damage, but you're making it so like the stutter step goes faster. You can start picking off other area units as well, and it's not completely useless because it just dies to Cyclones so fast, to Thor so fast, like Viking so fast. It has like so many like I wish that it would be good versus certain units and then trade more evenly versus other units, because it's either like pretty good or it's absolute garbage waste of money. Like the Tempest should be able to trade a little bit more efficiently versus other units. Others air units too, right? The carrier is super awesome because it's really good versus a lot of things, but it just trades good in general. Like, and for the price, that's totally fair. But when you have a 200 cost unit, and it's only good, it's only kind of pretty good or favorable versus certain units, then like, I'm not sure how I feel about that, you know? I wish it was a little bit more well-rounded, and I think increasing the attack speed just a little bit, and then balancing that with like reducing a little bit of the damage versus structures, I think that could be cool. Then you would have to micro them a little bit better, but just like it does so little damage for the attack cycles that it do that it's so shit versus most units. It's a completely waste of money. Like it should trade more efficiently. Basically, I think that's pretty much my take. But all in all, I this upgrade to increase versus structures is actually super smart. I don't think a lot of people would have thought of this, but this I do like this change 100%. Because when you put tanks in front of an opponent's, and when you're sieging someone, they should be like, holy shit, I gotta move. But when Tempests are shooting at you with like 1 shot every like 5 seconds, you're like, I'm being sieged. I'm just going to the bathroom. When I come back, you know, I'll start dealing with this. Like, it took way too long. So yeah, this is a cool change. All right, that's it. I'm not gonna ramble anymore. See you guys for the next balanced update, whatever patch is gonna happen. See ya.